In just 47 seconds, $47 million vanished from public view. Elizabeth Warren didn't hesitate. She didn't wait for permission. Cameras captured everything. The chamber fell silent. What did Warren reveal that made two of Trump's most trusted allies crumble before Congress? The mahogany-paneled Senate Banking Committee room buzzed with tension at 2:13 p.m. Reporters shuffled papers, their whispered conversations creating a low hum that would soon turn to shocked silence. The overhead lights cast sharp shadows across polished desks, creating an atmosphere more suited to a courtroom than a routine oversight hearing. Warren's staff had been unusually secretive about today's agenda, declining to provide advance copies of her opening statement to the press. At exactly 2:14 p.m. on March 15, 2025, Elizabeth Warren walked into the Senate Banking Committee hearing room like a prosecutor ready for battle. Her silver hair caught the lights as she arranged a thick manila folder on the mahogany table. The folder's contents represented months of investigation, late nights reviewing financial records, and coordination with Treasury investigators who had been quietly building a case that would reshape Washington. Across sat FBI Director Kash Patel, hands folded, dark eyes confident. His charcoal suit was perfectly pressed, his FBI pin gleaming under the committee room lights. To his left, Attorney General Pam Bondi adjusted her navy blazer, face calm and practiced. Her legal team flanked her, briefcases full of prepared responses to expected questions about routine departmental operations. The hearing was supposed to be routine budget oversight. Warren had other plans. Hidden in her folder were 247 pages of financial documents that would destroy both witnesses within the hour. Bank transfers, encrypted communications, and a money trail leading to a shadow network at the highest levels of government. The documents had arrived at Warren's office via secure courier just 72 hours earlier, delivered by Treasury investigators who had been working in complete secrecy for months. Each page represented a piece of what appeared to be the most sophisticated financial conspiracy in modern American political history. Warren's opening statement began softly, almost conversationally. Director Patel, Attorney General Bondi, thank you for being here today. She paused, her eyes moving between the two witnesses like a chess master, studying her opponents before delivering checkmate. I want to discuss transparency in federal spending. The word transparency carried particular weight, spoken with the deliberate emphasis of someone who knew secrets were about to be exposed. Patel nodded slightly, perhaps thinking this would be another boring budget discussion. His confidence was about to become his downfall. Bondi's legal advisor whispered something in her ear, his body language suggesting routine procedural reminders. Neither realized they were walking into an ambush that had been months in the planning. In February 2025, Warren continued, her voice gaining edge. The Department of Justice processed a series of unusual financial transfers. She opened her folder. The rustling paper seemed to echo in the suddenly quiet chamber. Transfers totaling exactly 47. Patel's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. Bondi's knuckles went white as she gripped her prepared statement. Warren lifted a document. This is Treasury Authorization Form 12047-C, signed by officials in both your departments. The C-SPAN cameras zoomed in. It authorized the transfer of $47 million from the Federal Asset Forfeiture Fund to Strategic Defense Analytics. She set it down precisely, a company that didn't exist until 3 weeks before receiving this money. The chamber froze. Reporters stopped typing. The air conditioning seemed to grow louder in the sudden silence. Warren had just accused the FBI director and attorney general of funneling $50 million to a phantom company. Patel's confident demeanor flickered for just a moment, a micro-expression that the cameras caught and would replay endlessly on social media. Bondi's legal advisor leaned forward, whispering urgently in her ear. his face pale with recognition of the political earthquake that had just begun. Patel leaned forward to his microphone, his trained prosecutorial instincts kicking in. Senator Warren, with respect, asset forfeiture funds are used for legitimate law enforcement operations. His voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being believed without question. The tone of a federal prosecutor who had spent years intimidating defendants and witnesses. I'm not familiar with the specific transfer you're referencing, but the phrase, "not familiar," would haunt him for the rest of his career. You're not familiar? Warren interrupted, her voice cutting through his response like a blade through silk. The interruption was perfectly timed, designed to prevent him from building momentum in his defense. She lifted another document with theatrical precision. This is your signature, Director Patel. February 23, 2025. Authorization memo for the Strategic Defense Analytics contract. She turned the paper toward the cameras with the confidence of a prosecutor presenting murder weapon evidence. Your signature authorizing $47 million for what the memo describes as enhanced investigative capabilities. The air quotes around the phrase dripped with sarcasm. Silence stretched for exactly 4 seconds. The C-SPAN timestamp showed 2:18. Patel's face had drained of color. His hands, previously steady, began a barely perceptible tremor. Senator, I sign hundreds of authorization documents without reviewing the full context. Let me provide context, Warren said, reaching for a third document with the methodical precision of a surgeon selecting instruments. Her movements were calculated, each gesture designed to build tension. Strategic Defense Analytics was incorporated on February 22 days before your signature. The company's registered address is a UPS store in Arlington, Virginia. She paused, allowing the absurdity to sink in. Its sole employee listed on incorporation documents is Marcus Steinberg, age 34, a former campaign volunteer for President Trump's 2024 election. The name Marcus Steinberg would become synonymous with political corruption in the coming weeks. Mr. Steinberg's previous employment history includes 3 months as a delivery driver for DoorDash and 2 years managing social media for a failed congressional candidate in Ohio. Bondi shifted in her chair, her practiced political composure beginning to crack. She attempted to interject, Senator, if you're alleging— I'm not alleging anything. Attorney General Bondi, Warren's voice rose slightly. I'm reading from FBI financial records. She held up a thick stack of papers. Records that show Strategic Defense Analytics received $47 million on February. Records that show this money was immediately transferred to 4 different offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. She paused, letting the implications sink in. All 4 accounts linked to shell companies controlled by political operatives with direct ties to the previous administration. The room erupted. Reporters scrambled for their phones. Democratic senators on the committee exchanged shocked glances. Republican members looked stunned, some already calculating political damage. Warren had just outlined what appeared to be a sophisticated money laundering operation involving the FBI director and attorney general. Patel's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, but Warren wasn't finished. She pulled out what appeared to be printed email communications. These are encrypted messages recovered from a server raid conducted by the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. She began reading, package delivered as discussed. K&P confirmed receipt. Distribution will follow established protocols. Sent February 26, 2025, from an encrypted account registered to Marcus Steinberg. The timestamp in the corner of the C-SPAN feed showed 2:19 p.m. Exactly 47 seconds had passed since Warren first mentioned the $47 million. Social media was already exploding. Warren Exposed was trending within minutes. CNN interrupted regular programming. Fox News cut to live coverage. In newsrooms across America, editors were scrambling to understand the magnitude of what they were witnessing. This wasn't just another political scandal. This was potential criminal conduct by the nation's top law enforcement officials being exposed in real time on live television. Bondi attempted damage control, her voice strained but professional. Senator Warren, these allegations are serious and require proper investigation. I would caution against trial by committee hearing. Investigation? Warren's eyebrows raised. Attorney General, this money came from your department. The authorizations bear your deputy's signature. She held up another document. Associate Attorney General Michael Chen signed the Justice Department authorization. On February, the same Michael Chen, who, according to these records, received a $50,000 consulting fee from Strategic Defense Analytics 3 days after the transfer was completed. The cascade had begun. Warren wasn't just exposing a financial irregularity. She was systematically dismantling what appeared to be a coordinated scheme involving multiple high-ranking officials. Patel's eyes darted to his legal team. Sweat was now visible on his forehead despite the committee room's air conditioning. Warren continued her destruction. Strategic Defense Analytics transferred $1.8 million to Patriot Solutions, owned by Kash Patel's brother-in-law. It transferred $900,000 to Freedom First Consulting, owned by Pam Bondi's sister. It transferred $3.2 million to Liberty Strategic, owned by Donald Trump Jr.'s former business partner. The systematic revelation was devastating. Warren had traced the money through a network of political allies, suggesting coordinated effort to distribute federal funds to political operatives. At exactly 2:22 p.m., Patel made a critical error. Standing abruptly, his chair scraping against the marble floor, he declared, "Senator Warren, I refuse to participate in this political theater. These accusations are baseless." And his voice cracked slightly on the word baseless, a tell that experienced prosecutors recognize as the sound of a defense crumbling under pressure. Director Patel, Warren's voice cut through his protest like a scalpel through tissue. Are you refusing to answer questions about $47 million in missing federal funds? The question was a masterfully laid trap, and Patel had walked directly into it. By refusing to answer, he appeared to be confirming guilt to millions of viewers. Bondi attempted to salvage the situation, her political training kicking in. Senator, both Director Patel and I are committed to transparency, but proper procedures. Her hands trembled almost imperceptibly as she reached for her water glass, a small tell that revealed the stress fractures appearing in her composed facade. Attorney General Bondi, Warren interrupted. At 1:45 p.m. today, 30 minutes before this hearing began, the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility issued search warrants for both your offices. She held up what appeared to be official documents. Federal agents are currently securing documents related to Strategic Defense Analytics and 12 associated companies. The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. Warren had coordinated her committee hearing with an active FBI investigation, timing the revelations to coincide with search warrants. Patel and Bondi were learning about searches of their own offices in real time on live television. Patel's composure finally cracked. Senator, this is prosecutorial misconduct. You can coordinate committee hearings with active investigations. Director Patel, Warren's voice carried cold satisfaction. I didn't coordinate anything. The FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility operates independently. As you well know, she paused, allowing his own words to trap him. Unless you're suggesting the FBI is involved in political theater? The irony was devastating. Patel, who had built his career on FBI independence, was now suggesting the Bureau was politically motivated. Bondi sat in stunned silence, apparently realizing that Warren had outmaneuvered them completely. Warren delivered her final blow. The Treasury Department has frozen all accounts associated with Strategic Defense Analytics. The total under investigation has grown to $73 million. She closed her folder, Both witnesses have the right to legal counsel and to remain silent. I recommend they exercise both. The hearing room erupted. Reporters rushed for exits. Democratic senators looked triumphant. Republicans appeared shell-shocked. Warren had systematically destroyed two of the most powerful law enforcement officials in America. As cameras rolled, Patel and Bondi huddled with lawyers, faces ashen, careers in ruins. Warren gathered her documents methodically. The prosecutor, who had delivered a death blow to corruption at the highest levels. Within hours, both Patel and Bondi would announce their resignations. Within days, federal grand juries would begin hearing evidence. Within weeks, the scandal would reshape American politics. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a badge or a subpoena, it's truth, archived and revealed at the right second. What happens when those who enforce the law become the lawbreakers? If transparency can survive power, democracy might actually be real.